Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, mic 2. Testing, mic 3. Testing, mic 4.
So I started with I started teaching on CSS around 12, 13 on that. And then I started learning Ruby on Rails from a book when I was in 15. So yeah, it's just I've pretty much just stayed with it around there, expanded through learning maybe more special stuff there. So it's learning.
Testing, mic 5.
I've been expanded just learning through it, learning that's the way I always that's so they have to trust you to even log your hours, they trust you there's certain check-in times and so I never was stuff yet. Yeah. We would take those together. Are you guys interested in knowing about anything in particular, or do you want us to just go on? And then that's when you get like section. Yeah. Are you guys international? You live in Germany? Oh, okay. I don't know, maybe they'll pay for your flight. That would be a good question to ask. You need an office? I don't think inside. I mean, I don't know how big it is, but it's not a main office. It's just the office for a low company that we acquired. So I would suppose it's not that big. But yeah, there's an office. Well, we don't. They definitely don't do lengthy work. You're gonna have to. Yeah, you're gonna have to take some.
surfers in Montreal. It's like, think about it. You don't have one students, so how can it be exactly 200%? Either, unless it's like 50, but I don't think how am I? Yeah, I know. Like, we have I just think about it. If we have like, say we have 50 students, and 25 of them, then it's 50%. Say 26 of them, that would be 50. And 24, then it would be 48. But right, and if you go down that chain, it would never be a decimal. What did I do? Like, yeah, we'll never be close to like this. We might be like 47.7%. It's like I just found that like more than that Andre oh, okay, no, that makes sense. 51 bucks. Yeah, that would make sense. Oh yeah, I'm figuring out exactly what is it. Another might be someone comes in and starts asking.
All right. Hello, hello, everybody. Hey. Can you guys hear me okay in the room? If you can't hear us properly, always move forward. There's lots of room up here. You don't have to, but you're more than welcome. Perfect. Folks online, you can hear me okay? You did some sound checks earlier, so hopefully good. Awesome. Cool. Well, welcome everybody to the Dev Degree info session. So nice to see you all here. Thank you for taking the time out, especially on a very snowy morning, kind of drizzly morning. So it's nice to see you guys here. For folks in the room, how many of you have been to Shopify before? Our students. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, welcome to Shopify. You're seeing one of our about 11 floors in this building, and we also have another building next door with a couple of floors. So it's nice to have you here with us. We also have a bunch of people joining us online. Hello to you folks. Britt, how many do we have online? 35. Awesome. It's nice to have you guys join us as well. Last time I checked the spreadsheet, it looked like there were some folks signed up from Arizona, California, New Delhi, Vietnam. Yeah, so it's really nice to kind of have like a global audience for this. So a few quick introductions, or maybe some housekeeping first. For the folks in the room, if you do need to use a bathroom, you can come to any of us, or actually if I could volunteer, Nick and Stefano, you just need a fob to get in and out. The bathrooms are just back near the elevators where you came in, so don't be shy. And I think that's actually all the housekeeping for here. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So some quick introductions then. Hi, my name's Andra Adams, and I'm the program lead for Dev Degree here in Ottawa. So I work really closely with our Ottawa University partner, which is Carleton University. I work closely with our Dev Degree Ottawa team, some of those folks you'll get to meet tonight. And I work closely with our Carleton University students, who we have quite a few of in the room, if you guys wanted to wave. Awesome. Yeah, woohoo. Cool. And to my right, I have Kat Barrett.
Yes, hello, I'm Kat. I'm part of the Dev Degree team here in Ottawa. I am the placement producer. So what that means is I work with all the engineering teams here at Shopify to make sure that teams are able to take on students. For the last 3 years of Dev Degree, you'll be changing in between different development teams. So I build relationships with all those teams and make sure that students have a really great time and are making impact here at Shopify as well.
And my name is Giselle Cardinal, and I'm the student life producer here in Ottawa. And we're still looking for someone for Toronto. So I sort of take care of any sort of soft skill stuff, any resource related things student-wise. So I'm closely connected to these lovely ladies here and all the students. And this over here is Brittany Oberfeld.
Hey everyone, my name is Brittany. I do all the outreach for this program. So we work with a lot of community partners like Boys and Girls Club, Technovation, Actua, a lot of partners to get educational content out there and get all of our amazing Shopify employees out there mentoring folks like yourselves.
Perfect. So you've met some of the Ottawa team, like we've kind of hinted at. We also have a sister team in Toronto. We had our first group of students from York University join us last September, and we're continuing with that university partnership this year as well. So those are the kind of two offices that we have as part of Dev Degree. Okay, so a little bit about Dev Degree. So it's a 4-year work integrated learning program that combines an accredited computer science degree with hands-on developer experience at Shopify. Sound pretty cool? I'm assuming it does if you're here in the room today. Okay, so lots of different pieces here. One of the things that might jump out at you, which you may or may not have heard before, is the term work integrated learning. So this is kind of like the future of co-op, or maybe just a more broad definition of co-op. So the idea of integrating learning that happens typically at a university for an undergraduate degree with industry experience. So work integrated learning can incorporate everything from co-op to like even just like a brief visit to industry. But our version of it is actually kind of innovative and really unique and powerful. And we'll be talking about it a bit more in depth. But the idea is that you're actually going to be studying at university, getting your accredited computer science degree, and working part-time at an industry partner here at Shopify, getting software development experience on real teams solving customer-facing problems. So you're doing both of those at the same time, all throughout your degree. And the cool thing about it is that you're getting as many hours as a traditional co-op program, like for example, the one at Waterloo. You're getting that many hours of industry experience, but all of it fits into 4 years, which is usually more like 4 years, or I guess it's 3 years and 8 months, and it's usually more like 4 years and 8 months at a school like Waterloo. And the innovation there is that you actually get some academic credits for the internships that you're doing here at Shopify. So that's the deep partnership that we've forged with each of our partner universities that allows you to do that. And that's part of what allows you to fit that all into 4 years. Make commerce better for everyone. So if we had been in the other room we normally do these sessions in, you would have seen that great sign, taking a selfie with it or whatever. But it's basically what we like to sort of, that's our mantra of all of Shopify, is sort of we make commerce better for every entrepreneur everywhere. So we're an e-commerce platform, and we also don't just stop there. We help anybody who has like an existing store or business, and we help them level up and make and sell like the things as best as possible. So we have over 600 plus 500,000 plus merchants, 600,000 plus merchants. It's changing every day. And we have tons of resources to help them out and to get their businesses off of the ground and try and reduce like the learning curve into sort of making their lives as good as possible. So yeah, it's an amazing place to work. Awesome. Cool. So a tiny bit of history about Dev Degree. I'll keep it brief, I promise. So it started as an idea quite a long time ago in the mind of our senior vice president of engineering. His name's Jean-Michel Lemieux. And he was actually working in Australia for a company down there and realizing that a lot of the fresh graduates that he was hiring into the company, they actually needed kind of extensive training on the industry side at the company in order to ramp up and have all of the skills, tools, and technologies that they needed to be effective at his company. And what he realized is that his company ended up putting together kind of a really interesting training curriculum for them that they went through. And he thought, hey, isn't there some value here? Like, isn't there a lot of learning that's happening with this curriculum that we've built? And would universities be interested in that curriculum? And so he went around to a bunch of the universities in Australia. And yeah, sure enough, there were lots of head nods from all of the folks that he was talking to at the universities. But that's kind of where the buck stopped. Like, there wasn't really an ability to integrate his training material in any way with the programs down there. And so when he got to Canada and he met Toby Lutke, who's our CEO of Shopify, and they were sitting on a couch in Toby's living room and talking about this thing, like talking about the idea that there's kind of a gap basically between all of the good fundamental theoretical stuff you're learning in school and then what you need to be successful when you join a company. And so they had like minds, and Toby said, well, okay, could we actually forge a partnership with universities that would be deep enough to actually support this kind of program? And here we are. Well, there we were then in 2016, I guess I'll start there. So we took our first 11 students here in Ottawa from Carleton University. In 2017, we took another 14 students in Ottawa. I think some of those folks are in the room. Who are you guys? Yeah. Okay, so those folks are in their second year now, halfway through about their second year. And then in 2018, so we took 10 more students here in Ottawa with Carleton University, but we also expanded to Toronto, and we took 10 students at York University as well. And then this year, 2019, so we don't have exact numbers yet. It's kind of going to be a matter of who applies and kind of who like sifts to the top of that pool and who we get really excited about, but it will be in the range of about 10 to 15 students per city, so per university.
Cool. Okay. So a couple of quick facts. I'm sure if you visited our website, these look very familiar to you. But just for those on the live stream, if you can't read this, it says 4,500 plus total hours of work experience at Shopify. So like Andrew was mentioning, splitting time between Carleton is one thing, but when you're here at Shopify, you're spending over the course of 4 years about 4,500 or more total work hours, which is awesome. You're getting paid for those hours too, which is great. So you have total hours of academic experience is just over 4,000. So that's pretty close to your work hours, which is great. And then the total number for paid tuition, salary, and vacation is that really juicy number right at the bottom there. And that's over the course of 4 years total. So there's lots of great things about joining the program for sure. I think the biggest perk is definitely that lovely number at the bottom, that $sign. But the amount of industry experience that you get paired with academic experience is really awesome too. Cool. So how does this exactly work? Andrew kind of touched upon this already, but here in Ottawa, you spend roughly 25 hours a week at Carleton University. So that equals about 3 courses per semester. I think a regular course load is 5 courses. Is that right, Andrea? Yeah, 5 courses. So you're actually doing 2 courses less than a standard student in the regular stream. And you're going to the same like lectures and tutorials and labs as any other computer science student. So you're doing you're joining rooms that are filled with everyone else outside of the dev degree stream, which is really cool. So you can work with lots of people outside the dev degree program as well. And then your remaining time at Shopify is about 25 hours a week. So in your first year, we'll kind of talk about this in the next slide. You are doing a dev skills training path, and then your remaining time is actually being on a development team at Shopify, contributing to our code base. I think that's on the second slide.
Okay, yeah, maybe just one tiny thing to add. So the 3 courses per term, you're going to be doing that all 3 semesters. So your fall, your winter, and your summer semester. And same with the 25 hours a week at Shopify. So that goes year round, but you do get 5 weeks of paid vacation. Good point. Don't get summers.
So yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. So your first year, we have some really great instructors here at Shopify on our dev degree team who will take you through developer skills training path. So you will learn technologies very close to what Shopify actually uses. So Ruby on Rails, that's our probably biggest area for learning. And also a lot of like web development technologies. So React, TypeScript, GraphQL, HTML, CSS. What else do we have? We have a security team. So lots of different types of security related measures, also debugging tools, basically everything that we use here at Shopify, you learn from our instructors so that you can hit the ground running by the time you enter your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year. So that's kind of where my realm is personally. My job is to make sure that students rotate through 4 different teams over the course of their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year. So that means that you're having 4 different experiences with 4 completely different mentors who are guiding you through that journey. And you're working on with 4 different, like, hopefully tech stacks, and making contributions differently than your past placement or your future placement, which is pretty awesome. So some of the teams that we have here are definitely around like web development, back-end development, mobile security, some production engineering. Am I missing anything? There's so many of them. But there's tons and tons of development teams here at Shopify, so there's lots to choose from. And at the moment, we are such small cohorts that we only really have 1 student on 1 team at a given time, which is pretty awesome. I'm sure as we grow, that might change, but currently that's pretty great. And having that 1 dedicated mentor to really guide you through that journey with every new team is really awesome as well. And then beyond your 4th year, after you graduate, we hope that you do stick around and work for Shopify if you choose to do so, but there's no strings attached. It's totally up to you. Not mandatory. If you want to take a year off and travel or go work somewhere else or maybe pursue a master's, you are definitely open and encouraged to do so. We hope you stick around, but it's not in the contract. So
things to feel good about. So I should move this way a little bit. All right. Yeah. So there's so many things that we try and sort of give students to sort of give them the least, like the path to least resistance to be really good students and to be able to learn and not have any obstacles in their way. So some of these things are sort of having a small cohort. So just like 10xing your learning to be able to sort of bounce ideas off of one another, really have sort of a really small teacher to student ratio. So you're able to sort of get all the help and resources that you need and be able to ask all the questions in a nice, comfortable setting. You also have multiple types of mentor support. So you have the mentors that Kat was telling you on your placements, but you also have what's called a Life at Shopify mentor. So within your first little while joining Shopify, we sort of assign you a buddy or a Life at Shopify mentor that sort of has no connection to your academic stuff at all. And they're just sort of someone who's been here for at least a year, who's just going to try and show you around Shopify and maybe, be a buddy and a mentor throughout your time here. You also have staff. So ourselves and people throughout Shopify, there's a bazillion resources to help you when you're feeling awesome and when you're not feeling so awesome. So we really care about health and well-being here, mental and physical well-being. So we try our best to sort of give you the resources and be open to anything that comes your way to, again, make your life as easy and as positive as possible while you're here. The other thing is you see like there's a MacBook there, there's a MacBook there. So when you join, you get a MacBook and all the little goodies that come with it. So that is yours for the duration of your time in the program. And if there's any bugs or anything with it, it's fine. You don't have to pay to get it fixed. You just let us know and we just make sure that you have the right tools to do your job. And also, this is awesome. So we have an entire kitchen cooking you meals for breakfast and lunch and a bunch of snacks. So you will never be hungry. You don't have to think about cooking breakfast, making lunch. And I know that Noah's all excited about the bagels. So at one session, we're like, what do you like best about working here, Noah? He's like, the bagels. So that's a thing. The food is a thing, and people get upset if we run out of stuff, and it's definitely a perk that people really enjoy. All right, a day in the life of a Shopify dev degree student. So there's the bagel again. So you grab your bagel in the morning, and then you grab a coffee or you grab any other beverage, and you sort of fuel up for the day. And then you're going to work 4 hours with your development team and pair with your mentor, brainstorm with your team, and ship some code. So every day is different. And because you're changing teams often, you're always sort of not every day looks different, and things you have to like thrive on change. And that's one big thing that we like to see with applicants coming in, that you're sort of you're not afraid of change and that you embrace it.
So that's one thing. Another thing is, again, yummy lunch. So like everybody sort of has a set time when they go to lunch. It's very important. People stop everything and go for lunch. And it's served at both buildings, so you don't have to like run back and forth. The other thing too is we really encourage people to commute in all sorts of ways. So one of the reasons we have Shopify in the downtown core is to give people the opportunity to sort of like leave their cars at home, skate to work, bike to work. We have a dedicated secure bike room here where you can, it's only Shopify folk that are allowed in there to get access to their bikes. We have like an internal chat system where we have all sorts of channels that encourage sort of like physical activity and group sports and that sort of thing. The other thing is attending afternoon lectures, tutorials, and labs. So we have a lot of sort of in-house curated tutorials and labs and things. And what you'll find too is whenever you go to university, I've been told by several students, I've never been there myself, but they always say that there's like the little group of you guys like all huddled together in a lecture or something, and that you're just annoying the prof, answering questions and grouping together. And so you never sort of miss out on the university opportunity and sort of feeling like you're part of university, because you all sort of go there back and forth together, and it just makes you stronger because you can create like study groups together. You can sort of go through the misery of tests and exams, and sort of you never feel alone. You're always like supported here and at university. And then, like I said, collaborating on assignments. So we really encourage like teamwork and pair programming here. It's sort of sometimes if you're not used to it, it's like a difficult transition, but we love to encourage that because it's only going to make you stronger when you join teams.
And that's kind of just a typical day. It's not always going to look like that, especially if your class schedule. I'm sure our students can tell you all about that. But depending, when you have your lectures, you might have Mondays completely free. So for you, that might be an 8-hour-a-day Shopify day. Or you might have Tuesdays completely booked with class. You have lectures, tutorials, labs, all kind of scattered through that day. So you might not come into Shopify at all that day. But the only thing that's kind of consistent is that you're working about 25 hours a week, and you're taking 3 courses a term, which is about 20 hours a week at Carleton as well. Or at university, I guess I should say, Carleton or York. Cool. Okay, so hopefully some of you are interested enough at this point to be thinking about applying to this program. So our 2019 applications, they are opening on January 14th, which is this Monday. And you have quite a while to fill them in. They aren't due back to us until February 18th. And the idea is that you can apply directly from our website, which is devdegree.ca. But you will also have to be admitted into one of our partner universities. So at Carleton University, you'll have to eventually get accepted to the Bachelor of Computer Science Honors Program. And at York, you'll have to be accepted into the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. So they also have a BA in computer science. That one's not going to work for the program. So for that one, especially focusing on the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Cool. So you can apply to us even if you haven't yet been accepted into one of these programs. But in order to enter the program with us, you will have to be accepted into one of these programs before September.
I just mentioned something very quickly about just generally about applications is that we're super proud here of the fact that we have a blind application process. So we don't know your name, your gender, your ethnicity, nothing. And just we'll just know your name as soon as we've gone through most of the process. We sort of lift the veil, and we sort of see who's who. But at the beginning, you're all sort of on an equal sort of ground. And so just super proud of that fact.
Okay, so quick timeline, and to give you an idea of what the process is going to look like. So January 14th, applications open. February 18th, applications close. We do our initial blind screening, as Giselle said, and then we choose our short list of candidates to send forward to what we call at Shopify life story interviews. So this is done by our talent department, so kind of an HR type person. And they're just going to chat with you about your life and what brought you to the point and sitting in the seat and talking to that person. everything from what you're interested in to why you love technology to why you applied to this program to what gets you excited about life, like everything. They're usually really kind of relaxing interviews. They're very interesting. People generally tend to really enjoy these interviews. And from there, we will have a slightly smaller group of people who move forward to the technical and program interviews. So by technical, we just mean that we are interested in how you think about problems. So this program, we're also, in addition to the blind screening, which helps us get really great gender ratios, we're also really proud of the fact that you don't have to have programming experience in order to apply. So we really want people that have computational aptitude, like they have the ability to think critically about problems and to solve logic kind of puzzle type problems, because that is a pretty good predictor of how well you'll do with solving software problems. But you don't actually have to have experience writing code before you get into this program. And so in that same token, both our application itself that you're going to fill in, you'll notice that we're interested in those types of skills, but we're not asking you any coding questions. And then in the technical interviews, it's the same thing. So it will be with two of our software developers, our full-time software developers here at Shopify. They're the ones who are going to be chatting with you, but it's going to be more of like a whiteboard thinking kind of logical puzzle type problem that you're solving and not a coding question. Program interviews, that's more about, are you going to be a good fit for the program? And it's going to be with some of the folks on our team. So we have a pretty good idea now that we've had 3 cohorts come through Carleton, 1 cohort of students come through York. We have a good idea of what types of people thrive and survive. Thrive and survive. Yeah, I guess so. I really meant to say thrive in this program and not just survive. And so we'll also chat with you about some of that. We'll want to know a little bit more about your life as well and why you're interested in Dev Degree. Offers are also going to be sent. That's going to be more like the end of March, perhaps beginning of April. And then I think it's by mid-April that we would be asking for you guys to give us an acceptance back or not on that offer. Cool. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our kind of quick introduction to Dev Degree. We want to always leave a lot of room for questions. We always get lots of great questions. If you do want to visit our website, devdegree.ca, you'll find the application open there on Monday. You'll also find some really great FAQs that can help answer a lot of the questions that you may have as well. And if at any point through this session or through our website, if you don't find that your question's answered, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@devdegree.ca. And with that, we will swap over to asking you guys for questions. We'll take probably like one from here in the room and then one online and just flop back and forth. Ooh, quiet group here.
Anything at all? Do you have a bunch online? I have a couple online. Okay, got it warmed up. Sure, yeah. Okay, so online, there was a question, I think maybe just some clarification around whether or not they need to be accepted on the university side first, or can they apply? Like, what's the process there?
Okay, so great question and happy to clarify. So the idea is that by the time that you are actually in this program, which is the end of August, you do need to have been accepted to Carleton University or York University for those specific bachelor's programs in computer science. But you don't have to be accepted. You don't have to have your acceptance from the university to apply at devdegree.ca to the Dev Degree program. It's just because the timings kind of overlap. So some people don't get their acceptances by February, and that's completely fine. So you can still apply to Dev Degree and have your acceptance roll in later.
Question.
Yeah.
About the schemes that are there in Carleton University. Doesn't matter which state you apply for, and if it is a golf program or not. Any of those can be accepted for this type of program.
Okay, great question. So the question here in the room was for Carleton University, which offers a variety of streams in computer science, things like game development, mobile development, co-op. Is there a particular stream that you have to apply to? And so the answer there is that there is actually a separate stream at Carleton. It's called the Industrial Applications Internship option. And that is the Dev Degree stream. You can't apply to it. So you'll actually just get moved into that stream once you get accepted into the program. So what that means is that if you are interested in a different stream at Carleton, you should go ahead and apply to that stream. And if you don't get into dev degree, you can stay in that stream. Presumably that's what you wanted. And if you do get into dev degree, you're going to have to swap over from that stream to this one. But the exciting thing on the Carleton end is that the director of computer science, who we work with very closely, he's actually like very excited about dev degree students, and he's willing for you folks to take some of the courses that are generally only locked to some of the other streams. So if you do want to take some of the courses in mobile development or game development, you can do that and still be a dev degree student. It's just that the actual stream that you're in at Carleton will be the industrial applications internship option.
You will be enrolled in some of the streams in university, but once you are accepted to Shopify, you need to switch to this stream. And if not, then you can be whatever.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Cool. Question from online.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the criteria when choosing applicants, maybe I know you touched a bit about it, but maybe more information or clarity.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so one of the things that I think is cool that we do is that we're not interested in your grades at all. We don't ask for any of your kind of academic background. You do need to have the grades in order to get into the university program, so they are quite concerned about grades, and you need to make sure you're above their cutoffs. But on our end, we're looking more for people that kind of have really great time management skills, who are resilient, like they've faced failure and they've figured out how to come back from it. They have leadership skills, get involved in their community. They have collaboration and teamwork experience. They're really passionate about technology. They're like excited to be here. They're excited to learn. They're kind of self-directed. That's the type of person who's really going to thrive here at Shopify. And so that's why we select for that type of person for dev degree as well. Did I miss anything? Yeah.
Only to just make sure that you tell us all of those things. So a lot of the people that we had to sort of dismiss and sort of like not even consider are people who really didn't like flesh out their ideas and let us know like what amazing things they're up to. Sometimes it's difficult to sort of talk about yourself and things that you've done. If you have trouble doing so, just like ask your family, friends, people at school, you know, like what are the things that would make me great for this program? And then you can sort of elaborate on that. And we also don't need anyone to have ever like worked a job before. It's more just like what sort of things that you can do. And it's not so much multitasking, but it's just like that you're sort of involved in more than one thing. That's you're sort of a well-rounded person, that you've sort of been involved in things that are sort of going to grow you and give you life experience.
Perfect. Any other questions in the room? Yeah, perfect. Okay, question was, how many classes do you have to take during the summer semester? And it's basically an even 3 courses per term all throughout your degree. So every summer semester, you'll take 3 courses, and every fall and winter, you'll also take 3 courses. And you'll still be working your 25 hours a week at Shopify during the summer as well. Question from online?
So how many applicants do you predict that you will have this year?
That's such a great question. Okay, well, it's hard to tell. So there's a few things going on. So last year, when we partnered with York University, the launch of that wasn't public until September. So there wasn't really the ability to kind of go out there and splash around and say like, yeah, York students like apply to dev degree. So this year, we have been able to talk freely about York since September. So we're predicting that we'll have more students applying from York University. That's one of the things that might make our applications go up. And we've also had a new brand, actually, Dev Degree. I also launched in the last little while in our new website. So I think for all of those reasons, we're thinking we're going to get more applicants last year than we did this year. This year than we did last year. I'm sorry, my brain's not on. And so last year we had like about 300 applicants, and this year it's hard to say, but I think more than that.
And like there's something to be said about like the question probably stems from like competitiveness and how like competitive the program is, and it is pretty competitive, but we will not lose any gems in the mix. Like we go through so many steps to make sure that if you've told us something that is amazing and that you're right for the program, like you'll get in. But on that note also, if you aren't accepted to dev degree, we also have the regular intern stream program that you can also apply for once you start school. So they accept people, I think, from second year onwards. So you can apply to that. They have like several opportunities throughout the year that you can apply to also. So all is not lost.
Was that an online one? Okay. A question from in the room? Any questions?
Genuine question. What is in this program for shop?
Okay.
There's so good things for the students. There's big number is the one, but also the feedback that they get on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But for the Shopify, what is the
Okay, good question. So the question was about what is it in it basically for Shopify. It's clearly a great program for students. There's a big number, like financial figure attached to it, and some really good mentorship and industry experience. So what is Shopify getting out of it? Okay, so a few things. So one, for sure, we're investing in early talent. So that's something that excites us as a company, is just kind of raising Canada up and other folks from around the world up in terms of tech talent. This is the future and we want to be part of it. The other thing would be that we believe strongly in our company culture and our company in general. And so exposing this young talent to Shopify early will hopefully have you guys convinced as well, the way that we are, that this is a really great place to work. So even though there are no strings attached, we would love to see students join us afterwards. So it's kind of like I guess, part of our recruitment pipeline in that sense. But the other thing is that in general, because of all of the extensive training that you'll do in your first year, your first 8 to 12 months here, and because of the caliber of folks that are coming into the program, just their kind of hunger and thirst for software development, we actually believe that we are going to get our return on investment in the 4 years of the program. So at the beginning, yeah, are you a little bit more green? Are we going to be pouring maybe more of our time into developing you? Sure. But then by the end of the program, the products you're going to be working on and the impact you're going to be having on the team and on the company is actually going to be, clearly in the positive, and so much in the positive that it's actually kind of repaying that kind of negative debt from the first little while.
That by the end of the program, it will be student at the university will be doing great things for the company.
Yes, absolutely.
And just to mention also, just like on a ground level, is that like every dev degree students get sort of like plunked into a placement team. They get to sort of influence mentors. You are developing the teams that you're on. You're sort of like finding the loopholes in the team and sort of making them stronger. You're creating stronger mentors, future leaders that are sort of like testing their skills out on like students. And so it works both ways. Like, so we're getting stuff from you, but you're also giving back to teams at Shopify without even really trying.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to add to that too, Giselle. The engineering teams here at Shopify are always trying to make teams more diverse, and that's not just through gender or ethnicity. That's through like diversity of thought as well. So by having young people coming in and actually contributing in such massive ways, that is like such a huge asset to the company for sure. Just that diversity of thought and that different way of thinking really impacts a lot of the teams here in such a positive way.
Okay, great question. Does any part of the application process change when international students apply? So no part of the application process changes. For the interviews that generally do tend to be in person, like if you are from the Ottawa or Toronto area, then you'll be welcome to come in for the technical and program interviews. Those you can just do remotely. So if you aren't in one of the cities that we have an office, then you can just take those by video call, basically. But other than that, it's exactly the same.
Okay, so online, there was a question about upper year students applying. So can a first year student at York apply for this program? If yes, how? Is the process the same as coming out of high school?
Okay, great question. So yes, if you are in your first year at university, or even if you've completed a degree in a non-computer science field, you're welcome to apply to dev degree, and the application process looks the same for you. We do kind of have a little bit of a cutoff, I guess you could say, that if you're already in your second year of the program, meaning that you'll be completed your second year and starting your third year by the time September 2019 rolls around, we say that you're actually probably a better fit for the internship program if you have already taken 2 years of computer science, because unfortunately for dev degree to work, you need to actually start those hours with us from the very beginning, regardless of how far you are in your CS at school. And so that it would make basically a 4-year program for you, but you've already done 2 years of university. So it's really just not a very attractive kind of proposal to do like 6 years of university or more for an undergrad.
And the intern program is awesome too. So if dev degree doesn't sound like a good fit, the intern program, I think they go through 4-month chunks, and it's full time. So you get to work on the same teams as dev degree students work on. I think the pay is maybe even slightly a little bit better, only because you're working full time. So yeah, if dev degree doesn't sound like maybe the optimized fit for you, definitely consider the intern program. I think you can find that just on the shopify.com/careers section. I think internships for the summer just opened up, I think a couple of days ago. So applying very early to those internships are key. But yeah, it's definitely an awesome option too.
Perfect. Is there a question in the room here? How what, sorry? How many days is vacation? Okay, great question. So basically in the program, you'll have 5 weeks of paid vacation throughout the year. So one of those weeks is we do like an end of year or holiday shutdown. So the whole company is closed for that week. And then the other 4 were kind of like, the way that it's worked before is that you get your reading weeks off. And the way that it might work in the future is that you might just have flexible time throughout the year. So you don't have to take it off on a reading week that's happening at university. Yeah, Nick?
And to add to that too, if you did need to take more time off 1 week, you could just talk with your lead or mentor or the computing ed team and say you'll make up for those hours down the road. So for example, this week I'm going to a conference, so I'm working more early in the week so that I can take days off. So while you do have the flex hours, you can also adjust your hours to what's fitting your schedule.
Awesome. Okay, and we'll take a question online if there is one. Yeah.
So within a York subreddit, a professor said that the York and Carleton programs are not exactly the same. If that is true, what are the differences?
Okay, good question. So the general structure at both universities is definitely the same. I'm trying to think of specific differences. One would be each university gets to choose how they do the assessment of those academic credits that you're getting for your internships here. So at Carleton, you write a report at the end of a semester and you give that to your instructor, who happens to be the director of the School of Computer Science, and he reads through that report and decides if there's enough there that's worth academic credit. He gives you some advice otherwise, and that's how he's chosen to do it. At York, I believe in your first year, because you're mostly with us and you're mostly going through our courses, they actually are able to look at kind of like the final projects that are part of those courses. And then in your upper years, I believe his style is to do it's like an oral interview, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I think that's like at York, it would be at the end of your semester, you would go in, you'd sit down with your professor, and he would chat with you about what you had worked on, and you would talk to him about it and presumably get into some of the technical details. And that's how they've chosen to assess it. So that's one thing off the top of my head that's different about them, but I can't think of anything else.
Except for maybe the commute.
Oh, yeah.
So unfortunately, like the Toronto office that you'll be hanging out by is sort of like 80 Spadina area, but it might change in the future. But it is an hour sort of train ride from there to York, which is somewhat painful, but we try our best here and over there to not make any student commute like more than once a day. And over in York, we might increase sort of the remote sessions to sort of make it easier for people. So yeah, so there's that. That's a difference. But in terms of like your training path for the first year, everything is sort of identical on the Shopify side. Everything, you join a team after that, so everything is the same there. So it's just the university that's slightly different, but pretty much along the same path.
Okay, and I think we had a question in the room. You had your hand up? Do you still have a question? Yeah. Great question. So the question is, when you apply, do you need to give references from your teachers or other folks that you know? So yeah, that's actually a new step to what we do for all of our interns, and not just dev degree students, but also all of our interns. Is if you've made it all the way through our process, we'll ask you for 2 references. And those, I believe, are not supposed to be people that are related to you, but they can be anyone else you like. So if you do have a teacher, maybe a computer science teacher, or you have worked closely with someone in your community, someone at your church, we would like 2 of those references. Yeah, great question.
I think Kaylin had a comment in the back there.
Good. Do you have a mic back there?
I do.
Good.
I was just going to say, for the difference between York and Carleton is also the class structure at university, right? They do things in a slightly different order. So maybe that was what the prof was referring to. I know that seems like a bit more of a significant difference.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So the actual courses that you end up taking, like the 3 courses per term, will be different at York versus Carleton. At Carleton, we're lucky that we are able to put enough computer science into that first semester that you're able to take some second-year computer science courses second semester. So you come out of those first 8 months like very well prepared. At York, I think because of how their prereqs work, you end up just taking like 1 computer science course in your fall semester and 1 in your winter semester. But by the end of your degree, you're basically all caught up. These are both honors Bachelor of Computer Science, bachelors in computer science programs. And so there's no like real difference there other than ordering, as Kaylin pointed out.
Okay, so Shopify emphasizes innovation culture, which this person really loves and encourages. It encourages unique ideas that could add value to Shopify. So within Dev Degree, would students have the opportunity to take on, I guess, innovative projects?
This is such a great question for one of our students, if they'd like to answer. So yeah, you should, if you would like to say something, definitely take a mic. So the question is, Shopify has a really cool innovation culture. And as dev degree students, are you able to do kind of innovative things on the projects that you work on, or to contribute to innovation in general at the company?
Yeah, so for sure. My microphone? Okay, anyway. So for example, something I did for Hack Days is I had the idea, or me and some other members from Shopify that I knew, had the idea of building a Twitch extension.
Your mic is on. Yeah.
Okay, well, now it's on. But anyway, so at one point we have Hack Days at Shopify, which basically is a chance for you and maybe some people you want to team up with to work on any cool project or any cool idea that you might have, right? So during Hack Days, me and some people I knew at Shopify, we had the idea of building a Twitch extension for Shopify. So if any of you know Twitch, it's a streaming platform. So yeah, that was one idea we had, and Shopify gave us the chance and the resources to explore that idea. We ended up building a small extension which could sell different things on Twitch. We didn't end up releasing it because Twitch had some restrictions as to selling on their platform. But in any case, we had a couple of days to explore the idea. And yeah, that's innovation right there, right?
That's such a great answer. Yeah, and Hack Days is one of the things that we do once a quarter, so you'll get to participate in 4 of them every year. And as Peter said, you can work with folks that you know. You can also join teams and projects that are already posted and work with folks that you don't know at the company. And some of them you kind of innovate, you build a prototype and you figure out, hey, this isn't going to be possible to release. But some things, we've actually had some of our most successful kind of components of Shopify come from Hack Days projects, as I think a lot of other big tech companies do. So it is a really cool chance to innovate. Thanks so much for suggesting or bringing that up, Peter. Anyone else want to talk about it? Maybe more from like on your team. Do you feel like you're able to contribute to innovation? Looks like Lulu would.
Talking in the perspective of someone on a team. So the things that you're working on a team, okay, actually, I'm going to talk about it this way. So when you're put on a project, depending on how your team works, there's so much freedom to delve into things that you want to delve into and to learn the things that you want to learn. And also a lot of the projects you're working on are things that haven't been done before. And so the case that I'm working on in security, the project that I'm working on is there's not much documentation on it. Everything is very cutting edge. And I think that's extremely, extremely innovative. And it's really wonderful and rewarding and interesting to be a part of that process. And another thing outside of a team is that we have almost like a makerspace where there's like 3D printing, like a laser, pardon? Yeah, a laser cutter, and that's just fully accessible to you. And we have so many workshops where you can learn about those things, and they're just like so many resources here at Shopify where you can really level up and also learn about other ways to be innovative and to be creative here at Shopify.
Yeah, I'm so glad you touched on that, Lulu, at the beginning, like the feeling of having a lot of freedom on your team. Just speaking for myself personally, this is, I think, my 9th tech company, and it's the first one where I really, truly feel like you have a lot of autonomy here. It doesn't mean you don't have the support that you need when you need it. That's another really cool thing about Shopify is it's one of the most supportive and collaborative companies that I've ever worked on. But the idea that like you're kind of just set loose on a given project, and you have the ability to notice problems that arise, to determine whether you think they should be tackled or not, and to come up with the solutions, like exactly how you're going to implement that. That's completely up to you. So that's definitely like one of the cool things that I think helps fuel some innovation here at Shopify is just the idea that you have a lot of autonomy here.
Yeah, and just another thing too is like we really dislike stagnation, so we're always trying to shake people up. And you might work on several teams throughout your time, even after you've graduated. Once you join a team, you'll sort of like work on different teams. You'll grow. We're always encouraging people to either like learn new things and take time out of their week to sort of and incorporate new learnings in their life. So even after dev degree is long gone, you'll still have opportunities to learn and grow and sort of be creative. So that is something that a lot of companies lose people to, is that stagnation. So not having the feeling that you can grow and move around and sort of explore different areas.
Awesome. So I think that was an online question. So if there is one in the room, we can do that. Otherwise, Brittany's chomping at the bit. Okay. Oh, yep.
Usually in the production environment, you don't have any time to go into the conferences or watch for the things that are there in the scientific community. What is the balance on Shopify about that?
Okay, great.
It's the hectic work towards the
yeah.
deadline, or is some
Great question. So the question is around, is there a time to go to conferences, do professional development, listen to what's going on bleeding edge in the scientific community, or is it kind of just go, like urgent customer requests all the time? And Steph, I noticed you had your hand up. I don't know, did you want to answer?
Okay, so we have like many opportunities throughout the year for conferences. For example, just on Shopify side itself, we have 2 conferences which are specific to like development. Which we have like the Dev Summit, which is at the end of January, which is coming up now, and then we have a second one for R&D Summit, which comes in August. So just those 2 we have, and each about a week long. And then again, we have a third one, which is more dev degree specific, but not really for the conference, more like like a bonding opportunity, team building opportunity kind of thing. But then even outside Shopify, we have things like Toronto has their own conferences, but in Ottawa and Montreal, there's QSEC, which is coming up this weekend, which is what he was talking about. What he was doing actual hours for this week. I'm going to, and I think most students, are going. Like all the first years are going, and then the 8 of the second years are going. So even like there was a plenty of opportunity to learn along the way. It's not just like go on your team. Even with your team itself, it's not just like you have to hit these deadlines, you have to put this kind of work. They know you're there to learn, so usually they put a lot of effort and a lot of time into growing you as a developer and not just using you as like to get stuff done. And then so you do have that you do have that side of like developing and creating new things and like go, but you do also have the balance of learning and discovering these new cutting edge technologies and hearing from different talks.
And another thing that I don't know if you mentioned or not is we have something at Shopify where every month you can use up to $100 to invest in your own development. It's what they call it, personal development. So if there is a course you want to take on a certain technology or any sort of material that you think will help you level up as a person, Shopify will pay up to $100 per month for you to get whatever that resource is. So if there is like a course on Udemy or something of like something you're interested in, you could totally do that. And although it is 20 hours a week at school and 25 hours at Shopify, you do still have free time to do any sort of hobbies, whether it's sports or some of the arts or anything. Like it still does give you a life outside of work and school.
Awesome. And I'll just add, I know it's a few years out if you're thinking about applying to dev degree, but as full-time Shopify employees, we also get an unlimited conference budget. So they take it pretty seriously here that you should be going out and networking, learning from the best, and doing that, like whether it's at conferences or workshops or what have you. And one of our company values, I guess you could say, is be a constant learner. So the idea of growth and professional development is a very kind of strong foundation, fundamental one that we have here at Shopify.
And I'll just sort of add to that, like whenever you sort of join the program, right out of the gate, we sort of advise you that it's sort of not a good idea to like do all the things at once because the choices are overwhelming. So you can like open a Shopify store, you can get involved with this team, go down and take a 3D workshop. You can get involved in so many things. So that's why time management is an awesome thing to have. And just sort of knowing what your schedule is like, and then you can sort of like slowly incorporate these awesome things into your sort of weekly, monthly, yearly schedule.
Perfect. Question from online.
Yeah, so this question is around timing and the hours worked at Shopify. So are the 25 hours fixed? Are we able to work longer if we want to? And then just building on that, because they're kind of related, is like, can we adjust our schedule and let's say have a full day working at Shopify or a full day at the university? I know you kind of touched upon that, but maybe just repeat. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. So your 25 hours a week are not fixed. So that's kind of the goal number of hours. It's the number of hours that we are paying you for across the year, right? 25 hours a week for the full year. But as Nick was saying, you do have flexibility there. So you have the ability to bank 5 of those hours the week before by working 30 hours and then only work 20 hours the next week. What else? Scheduling. So scheduling, that's definitely a difficult kind of pain point, I would say, about the program, is that based on the courses that you're interested in taking at university, it can sometimes be hard to actually free up a full day or to like always free up your morning so that you can come in here in the morning for 4 hours every day. So that's something that's kind of like a bit of a constant battle, but you do have quite a lot of flexibility around your schedule in terms of choosing when you want to take your courses. And you definitely have almost like infinite flexibility around how you want to work your hours at Shopify.
And using those flex hours also, it's good around like exam time and stuff like that. So if you're on a team, you can sort of bank those hours and sort of do some studying and then come back after exams are over and maybe work a little more on your team than you normally would because you've sort of taken time off to sort of just do well in your exams.
Also wanted to mention too that we don't track any hours here. So that 25 hours a week, you're not logging it in a spreadsheet for us or anywhere. Like we trust that you are meeting those 25 hours a week. We totally want to put that trust in you so that we don't have to worry about it. But the key thing to emphasize is that you're being paid for the 25 hours a week. So if you want to do more, you're only being paid for 25 hours a week. And we might kind of maybe check in and just see how you're doing, like well-being wise. If you're doing less and it comes up, it's being communicated maybe from your team or from your first year instructors, it's going to come back to us and we're going to talk to you about it. So Shopify definitely has a really big trust culture here. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why we don't track those 25 hours a week.
And just to build on that, because of the scheduling between school and work, like logistically, what's it like moving between the two? Someone asked, I don't know, maybe a student could answer.
Yeah, that's a perfect question for a student. Lulu, yeah.
You have to also have like a bit of flexibility with it because with every single term, you're going to have a different schedule. But I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I've never been in a position where I am pulling up like a lot of hours and I'm trying to struggle in order to meet both ends. I find that it's really nice that when you're on a team, they're usually pretty flexible. And so, like you said, you can be banking hours on this side or on the other side. And as long as you're having a really strong communication with your team and you're making sure that everyone understands where your time is at. So for example, during exams, I definitely tell my team, hey, this is a very stressful time for myself and I'm going to be present during meetings. I'm going to be working, but I'm just not going to be doing as many hours as I would usually. And that would just be made up either before or after. And so scheduling is definitely something that I can understand. I was also really confused about it. And it just sort of goes as you go along. You'll get your schedule and you'll move it around sometimes when you're like, okay, I'd rather have this in the morning, and you can choose the morning one instead of the afternoon, and making sure that you have chunks where you can commute to Shopify and not have to commute back every single time. But it always works out at the end of the day. And yeah, I never find that I'm squeezing time out of my schedule, but I definitely like to hand this off to someone else who might want to speak for themselves.
Any other students want to chime in? Yeah, Nick, here.
So it's really not that bad at all, especially between the commuting. At least for myself, I know I can work on the bus as well, so that was kind of a perk. But in general, when it says 20 hours a week at university, it's not necessarily 20 hours worth of lectures that you're attending. It's 20 hours worth of the lectures, the time you have to work on assignments and homework all together. So it's not like you're constantly having to bounce around from one place to another. Like Lulu was kind of mentioning, it always does end up working out because the computing ed team is very flexible when they schedule stuff for us. And if they know that we are being overwhelmed with some things, they will help shift stuff around that they're able to control. So it's definitely not something to be concerned about because, yeah, it does end up working out.
Perfect, thanks.
This is something that allows you to work remotely. Say you are in the university or in the home, and you can work on some part of the project and not necessarily be in office and they communicate over the mail or some other meetings. Is it like a practice or this is not working?
It all depends on the team that you're on. I know for me, the other day I had to take care of some things at home. So I talked to my lead, communicated with him, and he said it was totally fine to work from home. A lot of the events that we have here for dev degree students, they will also put on a live stream that you can join if you can't make it. Of course, it's encouraged to be there with your team because in the environment, you really do learn a lot and it's valuable to be there. But if something does come up, communicate that with your lead or mentor, and I don't think there's a time where they haven't been understanding and let me work remotely.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a great answer, Nick. We kind of try to get our interns to aim for at least 75 or 80% of their hours to be in the office, just so they can make the most out of the idea of like turning to the person next to you, who's probably your mentor, and kind of absorbing that information and getting the help in the moment when you need it. But in general, Shopify as a work culture is very flexible. You have everything that you need on your MacBook to be able to work from home. And especially in exceptional cases, like something that just comes up as a one-off, yeah, absolutely would be completely fine to work from home or remotely from campus. Yeah.
And one thing too, sort of we have our headquarters here in Ottawa and in Toronto. So let's say you're sort of living here, but you have family or friends elsewhere. You can not necessarily as a student so much, but as a regular Shopify employee, sort of it's encouraged to sort of walk into any Shopify office and work from that location also, because your team might be split up over a couple offices, or you have like a resource there or people you need to meet in that city. So it's sort of you should feel at home at any office that you sort of visit.
Is there another question online?
Yeah. So is the application process, assuming that you're accepted into the university of choice, completely handled by DevDegree, so Shopify, or is there some involvement from the university?
Okay, so our application process, like the application form that's opening on January 14th and closing on February 18th, is completely within our like Shopify's realm. And the university acceptance is completely within the university's realm. But you do need both of those acceptances to be in the DevDegree program. Cool. Short and sweet, that one. Any questions in the room?
You say that you are looking for people who are passionate about programming, and also you are looking for people who are actually self-directed towards the self-development, and maybe not have any programming experience. But how you know that they would be passionate to the programming itself once they are not experienced in this field?
Good
How do you convince them that this is a nice thing to do?
Good question. Okay, the question is if we're looking for people who are passionate about programming, but we're also taking people who are just self-directed learners or like hungry to learn and would be able to learn programming, isn't that kind of like a contradiction? So I think I said passionate about technology because that's slightly different, right? So the idea is that there's something about studying computer science from everything that you may know about it, regardless of whether you've coded before, that really lights a fire in you. And there might be other kinds of ways that you've been involved with technology, whether it's like, I don't know, someone, I can't remember one of our applicants, so I won't use a real example, but let's say you like run a YouTube channel or you have helped run a business like through a Shopify store, for example. So you have some idea of like what it is about technology that makes you really interested, but you haven't necessarily written like the web code behind it, for example. That's kind of where that contradiction irons itself out.
Maybe you created a mod in a video game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool. Another question from online?
So, question for the students in the room. I was curious how your mentality has evolved since joining. How have your longer term goals changed professionally and personally?
So interesting. I want to know the answer. Do tell.
All right, so the first was about the mindset. So when I first came to DevDegree, I thought that I had to be perfect at everything. I had to work my butt off all the time, had to show I was the best. But then once you get here, it's like they aren't pushing you too hard. They know that this is not like a sprint to be the best. It's a 4-year program, it's a marathon, and they do what they can to put you in a great environment to grow, but don't necessarily have their hand pushing at your back the whole time. So over time, my mindset's kind of evolved from having to push myself super hard to being more passively growing over time and taking in the most that I can from this experience. And the second part of that question was
Your long-term career plans, have they changed at all since you've been here?
Honestly, when I came in, I didn't have any super long-term career plans, but I was always interested in, let's say, mobile development. But after joining and seeing all the different teams that are at Shopify, all the different technologies that we use, I've kind of opened my mind up more to the possibilities and haven't set a long-term goals because I've seen just how many different things are out there that I still have yet to experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Does another student maybe want to weigh in as well? Well, woo! Oh my gosh.
So I would say that in terms of mindset, coming into this program, like back in high school, I was also like, oh, everything has to be perfect. I can't make mistakes because, that's bad. It's wrong. I should beat myself up over that. But yeah, coming to this program, there's going to be points where you're really stressed and then something goes wrong and you learn from that. And then you learn that it's okay to make mistakes, then you grow from it. So I found that was really helpful for me. In terms of long-term career plans, I'll be honest, I still don't really know. I just want to learn cool things and like do stuff. Not much more other than that, though, I'd say.
Thanks, Will.
I would say, as someone who came in with a experience, but not a lot of technical aptitude, and a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm a mature student, so I came in having already had a degree, and that degree was an arts degree. My mindset has already changed after one semester with my realizing my own potential and capability in this field, which I think is one of the really valuable things. Is we have so many people that are invested in what we're doing and watching our success that I think without even realizing it, the support team, as well as our colleagues in the cohort and other cohorts, are quick to say, hey, you're really great at this. Can you help me with this or help one of your colleagues? And that I found that to be really mind-blowing and definitely has changed a little bit of my where I see myself going over the next few years here at Shopify, which I'm sure is going to change about 1 million more times before I finish the program. But I would definitely say it's a incredible environment to grow and to find out things about yourself, and significantly less intimidating once you're in past onboarding than the university environment. Like, you just don't see people connecting and talking about high level ideas the same way at university as you do here, which is pretty great.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. Okay. Any other questions in the room? Online?
Online's not shy. So, so the question was, this person, let's say hypothetically, has gotten into the program. Both universities have accepted this person. Are we selecting which university they go to, or do they get to choose?
Okay, great question. So on the application form, you will see that you'll have the opportunity to rank the universities. So if you are interested in both universities, you've applied to both universities, or you're planning to apply to both, you can say, like, yes, I'd rather go to York, and then if not York, Carleton. Or you can say Carleton and only Carleton, like, I don't want to be considered for York. That's up to you. That's your that's kind of a way that you can send some of that information over to us so that we can make smart choices. If you do put that you want to go to both York and Carleton, you would say which one you'd prefer over the other, but it might work out that we actually have our cohort full in Carleton, and that, let's say that was your first choice, we might have to offer you a York spot. So we'll do our best basically to take into account the preferences that you put into the form, but you might not get your first choice. Cool. We can stay on with online questions for a little while, maybe.
So what is the percentage of accepted Canadian applicants versus international students in the past?
It's a really great question, and one that I don't know the answer to, unfortunately. If you send us an email to info@devdegree.ca, just to remind me that this question came up, I can look into our data and let you know. Probably overwhelmingly Canadian, I think.
So there's some curiosity around some of our existing dev degree students and their background and academics going into the program.
Okay, interesting. Anyone want to share? Maybe someone who hasn't spoken wants to share a little bit about their background and yeah, just a little bit.
Or maybe what has helped you in your application get to this point? Like what helped you fill out that application?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch.
Okay. So I guess the question was about like the application process and like how I kind of approach that. So coming into this kind of program, so I did some computer science in high school, but I didn't really have a good experience in that. Kind of a bad teacher, not really too engaged with me at all. So coming into like a totally computer science based program and stuff, that was kind of intimidating. The application process for me was kind of like a bumpy road, and kind of sometimes I felt really good about it, sometimes felt kind of bad about it. But generally, like as I went further and further into like the application process and got to different interviews and different stages and stuff, I got more relaxed and more excited about the program rather than scared about the program. And so like once I was in like technical interviews and stuff, it kind of felt more just like I was talking to a friend than talking into like a job interview, which was kind of cool. And then past that, like after getting in and stuff, it was like I don't know. I guess this is kind of getting kind of off topic, but I don't know. Like it's a really like unique experience, obviously, because like I've done a lot of like past like part-time jobs and stuff, and the interviewing for that is like not anywhere near what this is kind of like. But yeah, like I can't really speak for like too much of like technical interviews and stuff. So maybe we could talk about that because he has more of a technical background, but like maybe we can like contrast and compare that. I don't know. But,
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for sharing. And Devin, did you want it? Oh, perfect. Devin's going to hop in.
So I've always been sort of interested, and I always was passionate about computer science because like when I was a kid, I thought it was really cool, and my dad worked as a software developer, and he sort of inspired me to do it as a career. And I think that really helped me in my interview, being able to show like how much I enjoy it and like the projects I've done over time. And then I had a bit of work experience doing like software development, which I think helped a lot. But really, I enjoyed the interviews, and it was a lot like talking to a friend and not really like someone who was trying to hire you, which was weird. But it made it like pretty fun and enjoyable to do. I think, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Devin. And Lulu?
Okay. So addressing specifically the question that they asked about the academics, it's a very general question, but I think they were talking about like experience in computer science. I would think so. I am one of the students that had almost little to no experience in computer science. I took no courses, and I had exposure in terms of me learning about it on my own time, but there wasn't much talk in my family or the society or the friends that I surrounded myself with. So coming in and going through the application process was really nerve-wracking, actually, because initially I really thought that they were going to evaluate me on my skills in computer science, and that was very little. But like they were talking about, and how the team was emphasizing how they are looking for potential, and they're looking for interest, and they're looking for passion and a mind that would enjoy logical exercises and computational thinking. Thinking about your background and your academics might actually, like if you focus on it too much, especially as someone who doesn't have that background, it can really lower your confidence, and it can actually affect your application. So I recommend those who are applying in the same position as I was to really just be yourself and to show them what you're interested in and what you've done in the community and the leadership positions that you've been in. And it's perfectly fine to be honest about those things.
Yeah. Thanks, Lulu. Cool. Any other students want to jump in? Okay, perfect. Let's do it.
So this is interesting. If you had to choose one skill that you've developed, like during your time at Shopify, so far that you wouldn't have gotten in a traditional program, like being, let's say, in university full time, what would that skill be?
Well, Mitch will say something. Mitch and Kayla.
So working on a team is very, very different than being in school. And you learn so many things like speaking up for yourself, learning how to ask good questions, learning how to just identify yourself in a workplace, which sounds really weird, but in reality, it's very, very hard. I don't know if you've heard of imposter syndrome, but it's a real thing. And dealing with that firsthand and learning how to deal with that is extremely important to just about anyone, not even just in tech but like anyone who is a working professional, and just learning how to do that and learning how to deal with that very early on in your career is extremely, extremely rewarding, and it will serve you throughout whatever you do and choose to do for the rest of your life.
Such a great answer. Thanks, Lulu.
I would say gracefully receiving feedback and then taking that feedback to improve the quality of your work. So separating the ego from your code, which I think will be very valuable to all of us in professional positions, and is a really big struggle, because I'm not talking about like, hey, this was great, but you could do better. I'm talking every line of your code, very specific feedback that absolutely needs to be addressed. You don't just read it and go, okay, yeah, I will. You do it and you address it and you resubmit, and then you get hit with a whole other layer of feedback. And I think that just comparing the way that my assignments are marked at Carleton now, instead of being like, yeah, no negative comments, I'm like, well, where's the feedback though? I mean, how can I do better if you're not telling me exactly where I went wrong in every single spot? So that's a very valuable thing.
Such a great answer too, Kaylin. Thanks.
Yeah, I think one of like the biggest things that I've taken away from so far being in this program is just the number of just really basic soft skills kind of that come with programming and stuff. So one of my favorite things that we've done so far has been little tutorials where you learn just basic programming practices that don't necessarily belong to a specific language or idea. But for me, it was learning how to use GitHub, how to collaborate well and stuff. That's something that I probably there's no course at Carleton that's how to use GitHub. It's you have to just kind of learn as you go. And so for me, that would be really intimidating to do by myself. But being able to be here and learning not just that, but other things that are kind of necessities to have that you wouldn't necessarily have exposure to in the traditional university setting. I also just think in addition to that, I mean we're all really young, and so getting exposure to what actually is being an adult is early on. I go to I talk to my friends, oh, where you are? I'm like, oh, I'm at the office, I'm just at the office, because that's not something that normally would happen, and I think that's one of the most valuable things is getting the exposure to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Okay, but one more would be great.
So to add on to what Mitch was saying about GitHub and working on a team, so yeah, not just GitHub, but a team, working on a team in general is heavily discouraged. Kind of a score talking to anyone and collaborating at Carleton is discouraged, they want to catch you, want to put you for your grades and all this random stuff. But being able to work on a team is such a valuable skill, because usually when you're not just coding but anything you do on your own, because the fact you're doing your own and you can adjust yourself, it doesn't really force you to do things make a plan, set goals, and designate time and not relying on anyone other than yourself. Because the fact when you're on your own, only person you're letting down is yourself. But when you're on a team, you have people who depend on you and who you have to depend on to make sure what you want to do, you make clear from the beginning. That way. Okay. Just ignore it. So because the fact that you even not a team, but even through the first year when you're learning on dev degree, it's there's many group projects that happen throughout the year, and that forces you to learn how to the workflow is for the team. It combines the feedback, combines using GitHub, it combines making a plan. It's just that whole process is something you don't really learn through Carleton. And I know that from when I go to Carleton, I do my subjects, and also I have friends who were at Carleton and then came here for the internship second year, and the most common feedback that I got was like to talk to the team when you have an issue, like not just like keep it to yourself and like try to go down this hole of like I can figure this out, because in fact you have those people and you use them kind of thing.
That's an awesome comment, because like we're always telling like the cohort right from the get-go, as soon as they come in and they're onboarding, we tell everyone like we're here for a reason. There's so many of us to sort of help you get the resources and get the information to sort of support you to like learn and to right off the bat like know what it is to work as a team, so that whenever you make that transition into a placement, it sort of just like comes naturally to you. So you know how to ask questions when intelligently, and you know how to give and receive feedback. Is just, yeah.
Awesome. So I think the room's trying to tell us something with the screen going up like that. So why don't we take one last question, maybe from online, and then folks who are in the room, you're welcome to kind of mingle after, chat with any of us, chat with the students. And yeah, and if you do, we're good? Oh, perfect. So if you do have any other questions after you leave today, although feel free to mingle, please send them to us at info@devdegree.ca, which would be on the screen, but is no longer on the screen. And thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. It was really nice to chat with you, and we are looking forward to hopefully seeing your applications.